stop everything you are doing right now, because the story the entire internet swore was carved in stone just got shattered into a million pieces, and the woman who shattered it did it with one ice-cold word. For weeks, the blogs, the gossip pages, the comment section detectives, all of them were chanting the exact same thing. Papoose dumped Claressa Shields and ran straight back home to his wife, Remy Ma. They said it was over. They said the fairy tale was finished. They said Claressa got played, got left, got humiliated in front of the whole world while Papoose tiptoed back to the woman he once vowed forever to. But here is what absolutely nobody saw coming. When someone finally walked up to Claressa Shields and asked her, point blank, how she felt about Papoose spending Christmas with his wife, she did not cry. She did not crumble. She did not even blink. She corrected them. Cold. Calm. Surgical. And in doing that, she set the entire rumor mill on fire. Because once you hear everything that actually happened, the Christmas mystery, the mink-store coincidence that ignited this whole wildfire, the diamond ring that broke the internet back in November, the baby announcement she casually dropped on a podcast while everybody was busy writing her breakup story, and the coldest response Papoose himself has ever delivered, you are going to understand why the truth is the complete opposite of every single headline you have been fed. So get comfortable, because we are unpacking every last layer of this today, and believe me when I tell you, the deeper we go, the wilder it gets. Now, let's begin with the moment that silenced the entire internet. Picture it. It is the days right after Christmas. Claressa Shields is online, minding her business, feeling herself, hyping up her body and her fitness journey, telling her followers her body is giving everything it is supposed to give and that she has never once needed a shortcut, a needle, or a miracle weight loss drug to look the way she looks. She is glowing. She is confident. She is completely unbothered. And right in the middle of her celebration, somebody slides into the conversation with a question that was clearly engineered to wound her. How do you feel about Pap spending Christmas with his wife and daughter? Now understand something about that question. That was bait. Bait dipped in poison. Whoever typed it wanted tears. They wanted a meltdown. They wanted Claressa Shields to unravel in public so they could screenshot it, repost it, and feast on it for a week straight. But she did not give them a meltdown. She gave them a correction. Because her answer, her entire answer, was one razor-sharp reminder that sliced through every rumor at once. That is not his wife. That is his ex-wife. Read that again. Slowly. No paragraphs. No tears. No lengthy emotional statement typed out at 3 in the morning and deleted by sunrise. Just a calm, clinical reminder that the woman the internet keeps calling Papoose's wife is, in fact, his ex-wife, and that distinction matters more than anything else being screamed about this situation. Think about what it takes to respond like that. When somebody comes at you with a question built to humiliate you, and your very first instinct is not defense, not anger, not explanation, but correction, that tells you everything about where that woman's confidence is sitting. People who are losing do not correct details. People who are losing write essays. She wrote next to nothing, because she had nothing to defend. She simply refused to let the wrong title slide, and that single refusal said more than 1,000-word statement ever could. And here is the part that proves just how unshaken she truly was. She went right back to posting about her fitness. The question arrived, the correction dropped like a guillotine, and she kept it moving like someone had casually asked her the time. That is not the behavior of a woman watching her relationship collapse in real time. That is the behavior of a woman who knows exactly where she stands, exactly who her man is, and exactly how foolish the internet is about to look. But to really grasp why that one correction detonated the way it did, you have to understand the rumor it was aimed at. Because this reunion fantasy did not appear out of thin air. It was assembled, brick, by internet detectives who genuinely believed they had cracked the scandal of the year. And when you hear what they built their entire case on, you are going to be equal parts amazed and exhausted. So let's talk about how this circus actually got started. Not long ago, videos surfaced online of Papoose inside a mink store. Fancy place, luxury furs, the whole display. Nothing scandalous there. But then, separate videos surfaced of Remy Ma inside the very same mink store. And this is where the internet's self-appointed detectives pressed pause, zoomed in, and started connecting dots that, honestly, might not even be dots. Because the eagle-eyed viewers noticed something they believed was the smoking gun of the century. The store owner, the man appearing in both videos, was wearing the exact same outfit in Papoose's footage and in Remy's footage. Same shirt. Same everything. And from that single matching outfit, the internet constructed an entire narrative. If the owner is dressed identically in both videos, the reasoning went, then both videos must have been filmed on the same day. And if they were filmed on the same day, then Papoose and Remy must have been there together. And if they were there together, shopping for furs like the old days, then the reunion is real, the reconciliation is underway, and Claressa Shields has officially been left behind. That theory spread like gasoline on a campfire. Within hours, it was everywhere. Papoose ran back to Remy. Claressa got dumped. The fairy tale is dead. Full-blown headlines, reaction videos, think pieces, all of it constructed on the back of one man's unchanged wardrobe. Now step back and really examine what happened there, because it tells you so much about the world these three people live in. A store owner wore the same outfit twice. That is the entire evidence file. That is the smoking gun. And from that, thousands of strangers declared a relationship dead and a marriage resurrected. Do you understand the level of surveillance required for a story like this to even exist? Every place Papoose goes, every place Remy Ma goes, every timestamp, every reflection in a store window, every single frame gets frozen, enhanced, and dissected by people who have never met any of them. These two cannot walk into a boutique on opposite ends of a calendar without the internet stitching it into a love story. That is not news. That is a surveillance state wearing a gossip page's clothes. And consider the obvious possibility the detectives refused to consider. Maybe the store owner wore the same outfit because people rewear outfits. Maybe the videos were shot days apart and the man simply likes that shirt. Maybe, and stay with me here, two famous people visited the same popular luxury store in the same city during the holiday season, the season when literally everyone with money is out buying gifts. There does not need to be a reunion for two people to cross paths with the same furrier in December. Sometimes a mink store is just a mink store. And guess who agreed with exactly that? Claressa Shields. When the theory reached her, her position was blunt. Nothing happened. No reunion. No secret reconciliation. No behind-the-scenes plot. Nothing. And notice the pattern already forming, because it is going to repeat through this entire saga. The internet builds a cathedral out of a single brick, and Claressa walks past it without even looking up. But the mink store was only the opening act. Because at the exact same time the internet was busy solving the case of the matching outfit, another fire was burning, and this one involved a diamond. So let's rewind a few weeks, back to November, to the ring that nearly crashed the whole internet. Back in November, a video of Claressa Shields started making the rounds, and in that video she was showing off a diamond ring. Not a subtle little stone, either. A serious, blinding, catch the light from across the room kind of diamond. And that was all it took. The internet did what the internet does. It erupted. Within hours, the conclusion had been written, published, and chiseled into stone. Papoose proposed. The wedding is coming. Claressa is about to be a wife. Congratulation posts, celebration videos, entire countdown clocks to a wedding that existed only in the imagination of strangers. But then Claressa herself stepped in and slammed the brakes so hard you could hear the tires scream. She clarified it plainly, without an ounce of drama. Papoose has not proposed. There is no engagement. That ring, she explained, came from one of her past relationships, an old piece of her own history, not a new promise from Papoose. Now, for most people, that is where the story dies. Ring explained, rumor corrected, everybody moves on. But here is what made this moment so fascinating, and here is why it kept the conversation alive instead of ending it. Because in the very same breath that she used to kill the engagement rumor, Claressa made a point of describing her bond with Papoose as unshakable. Not casual. Not complicated. Unshakable. So look at the two things she did simultaneously, because it is a masterclass in controlling a narrative. On one side, she is telling the world, clearly and repeatedly, there is no ring, there is no proposal, there is no wedding date, stop planning a ceremony that does not exist. And on the other side, she is telling that same world that what she has with Papoose is rock solid, locked in, and cannot be broken. She shut down the fantasy while doubling down on the foundation. And that exact combination is why nobody could stop talking about her. If she had just denied the engagement, the story would have evaporated in a day. If she had just bragged about the relationship, people would have dismissed it as performance. But doing both at once, killing the rumor while elevating the reality, that left everybody with nothing to grab onto except the fact that this woman is genuinely, stubbornly secure. And this matters even more when you stack it against what the internet was screaming at that very moment. Because while the ring story was still warm, the reunion theory was catching fire, and the general consensus online was that the relationship was crumbling. The story everybody settled on was that Papoose was halfway out the door, that the whole romance had run its course, that Claressa was about to learn the same lesson they insisted every woman in her position eventually learns. That was the consensus. That was the narrative. That was the script the gossip world had already written for her. Which is exactly why what she did next landed like a bomb. Because while everyone else was writing her breakup, Claressa Shields was sitting down on a podcast and calmly discussing her future. And not a hypothetical future. Not a someday maybe future. A planned future, with dates attached. And this is where the story stops being about rumors and starts being about receipts. During her appearance on the Pivot podcast, in the middle of a regular conversation, Claressa Shields made the biggest statement of this entire saga, and she made it without theatrics, without a drumroll, without even raising her voice. She confirmed it flat out. She is going to have a baby next year. Not she hopes to. Not maybe one day. She said they already have it planned out. Let the weight of that land for a second. While half the internet was declaring her relationship dead, while strangers were building reunion theories out of a store owner's outfit, while the comment sections were writing her eulogy as the woman who got left, Claressa Shields was on a microphone telling the world she and Papoose have a baby planned for the coming year. You do not plan a child with a man who is packing his bags. You do not map out a family with someone tiptoeing back to his ex-women who are being abandoned. Do not discuss nursery timelines on podcasts. That single statement did more damage to the reunion rumor than any denial ever could, because it was not a denial at all. It was a blueprint. People faking a relationship perform for the present. People in a real one plan for the future. And that is the difference the gossip pages cannot spin. And she did not stop there. Claressa also made it crystal clear that motherhood would not be hanging up her boxing gloves. She is planning to handle the family and the career, both at full capacity, at the same time. Which means this is not some impulsive fantasy she blurted out for attention. This is a woman who has thought it through, scheduled it, weighed it against a fight career at the highest level, and decided she can carry all of it. That is not a woman in denial. That is a woman in command. Now contrast that posture with the posture the internet assigned her. The narrative said she was desperate, delusional, clinging to a man who had already emotionally checked out. But watch her actual behavior across this entire stretch of time. She is posting about her body and her discipline. She is correcting sloppy titles with ice in her veins. She is calling her relationship unshakable in one interview and announcing a planned child in the next. Every single move she made pointed in the same direction, and that direction was forward. She is not acting like someone bracing for heartbreak. She is acting like someone building a life and refusing to let strangers hold the pen. But throughout this whole storm, there was one voice missing. Claressa had spoken. The internet had screamed. The blogs had published. But the man at the center of the hurricane, Papoose himself, had said almost nothing. And when he finally did open his mouth, what came out was so cold, so calm, so completely dismissive of the entire circus that it might be the most revealing moment of all. And to understand why it hit so hard, you need the context of what he was responding to, because years earlier, this whole private situation was dragged into the town square in the most public way imaginable. To understand the weight of Papoose's response, you have to rewind to when this entire situation stopped being private. Because before the mink-store, before the ring, before the Christmas question, there was the day everything exploded online. When the cracks in Papoose and Remy Ma's marriage first became the world's business, it did not arrive quietly. It arrived as a full public spectacle, accusations, receipts, screenshots, and a level of raw exposure that had the whole culture grabbing popcorn. Remy Ma put the situation on blast for the entire internet to see, and from that moment on, this was no longer a marriage going through something. It was a show, and everybody had a front row seat. So when Papoose was finally asked about that whole spectacle, about the day it all went public, about the chaos that followed, the natural expectation was fireworks. This is the man at the center of the storm. This was his chance to swing back, to tell his side, to unload years of built-up frustration in one viral interview. The room was ready for drama. The internet was ready for drama. And what Papoose gave them instead was a shrug wrapped in ice. His verdict on the whole public spectacle. He called it corny. That was the word. Corny. He said it is always corny to take your business to social media, and then he asked the question that told you exactly how he sees the entire machine. Who wants to be part of that circus? Now study that response, because there is a lot packed inside a very few words. He did not deny anything. He did not confirm anything. He did not attack Remy Ma, and he did not defend Claressa Shields. He simply looked at the entire spectacle, the blasting, the screenshots, the months of strangers treating his life like a season finale, and called it foolishness. That is a man announcing that he was never a willing performer in this show. The circus went up around him and he refused to buy a ticket. And then Papoose added the detail that reframed everything, the detail most people forgot or never knew. He pointed out that even during the years Remy was locked up, 6 long years while he held everything down on the outside, people were attacking him back then too. Think about what that admission does. It tells you that from his perspective, the noise has never stopped. When he was the loyal husband holding down a wife behind bars, they came for him. Now that he is the man who filed for divorce and moved on, they are coming for him again. Same noise, different decade. So when he declined to join this latest round of chaos, it was not fear. It was a man who learned a long time ago that the circus feeds on participation, and he simply stopped performing. And this is where the picture gets genuinely interesting, because now you can hold both sides up at once. On one side, you have an internet insisting Papoose quietly ran back to Remy, that the whole Claressa chapter is closing, that the mink-store footage is proof of a rekindled flame. On the other side, you have Papoose's own mouth telling the world he wants absolutely nothing to do with the circus, the same circus that the reunion rumor belongs to. He did not come out swinging. He did not get petty. He did not post a single cryptic message at midnight. He just rose above all of it, and honestly, that silence plus one-word strategy is the coldest move in this entire mystery. Everybody else was making noise. He made none. And the less he said, the louder the rumors had to work to survive. But if you thought the Christmas question and the podcast reveal were the sharpest moments of this saga, you would be wrong. Because there is one more exchange, one question asked to Claressa's face, live on the radio, that produced the single most savage answer of all. And before we get to it, you need to hear the rumor she was responding to, because the rumor itself is almost unbelievable. So here is the story that was being circulated while all of this was unfolding. According to the rumor mill, Claressa Shields spent her Christmas alone, and not quietly alone at home with a movie and a blanket, but alone inside a Louis Vuitton store, allegedly ringing up somewhere around $30,000 on a holiday shopping spree. That was the story. The champion, the self-made millionaire, the woman with the planned future, reduced in the gossip pages to a lonely figure swiping a card in a designer boutique on Christmas Day while her man was supposedly somewhere else with his family. Now sit with how that story was framed, because the framing is the whole game. It was never told as a successful woman buying herself luxury gifts, which by the way she has earned 100 times over inside a boxing ring. It was told as a consolation prize. The subtext was deliberate and it was cruel. He was not with you, so you went shopping. He chose family, so you chose handbags. They wanted the image of Claressa Shields to be a woman dabbing her tears with designer receipts. That was the narrative being sold. And notice how perfectly it dovetailed with the reunion theory. The mink-store said Papoose was back with Remy. The Louis Vuitton story said Claressa was left shopping alone. 2 store stories, one neat little bow. Whoever packaged this storyline understood exactly how gossip spreads. Give the audience matching imagery, a his store and a her store, and let them stitch the soap opera together themselves. It was almost elegant, if it were not built on absolutely nothing. Because what is the actual evidence behind the $30,000 Christmas spree? Whispers. Anonymous whispers passed between pages that profit from engagement. No receipts, no footage, no confirmation from anyone involved. And even if every cent of it were true, even if Claressa Shields did walk into Louis Vuitton on Christmas and spend $30,000, what exactly would that prove? She is one of the most decorated fighters of her generation. She has headlined cards, won titles across multiple weight classes, and built her own fortune with her own two fists. A woman like that buying herself luxury is not a scandal. It is a Tuesday. The only reason it became a headline is because it could be twisted into a loneliness narrative that fed the bigger story the internet had already decided to believe. And this is the perfect moment to point out the pattern that runs through every single chapter of this saga. Every piece of so-called evidence works the same way. Take a mundane, ordinary event, a man shopping for fur, a woman wearing a ring she already owned, a champion buying designer gifts during the holidays, strip away the innocent explanation, staple on the most dramatic interpretation available, and ship it to an audience that is hungry for a breakup. That is the entire machine. And Claressa Shields has watched that machine run at full speed for months without once letting it dictate her response. But the machine made one critical mistake. It underestimated what would happen if someone put the insulting question to the champion directly, live, with microphones on and nowhere to hide. And that is exactly what happened during a radio interview in Atlanta, when a co-host decided to ask the question everyone else had been too cowardly to ask to her face. What Claressa did next is the reason this entire story needed to be told. The setting was Atlanta, on Street's morning takeover, live radio, the kind of room where there is no editing, no PR team hovering off camera, no delete button. Claressa Shields was sitting there for a regular interview when the co-host leaned in and asked her the question, point blank, the one the entire internet had been whispering behind her back for months. How much longer are you willing to be in a relationship with somebody's husband? Feel that. Somebody's husband. Those three words were not a question. They were an accusation wearing a question mark. Home wrecker, side piece, the woman on the wrong side of a marriage, all of it packed into one phrase and fired at her in front of a live audience. And you could feel the temperature in that room spike, because everybody listening understood what was really being asked. This was the moment designed to break her. The moment designed to make her stammer, deflect, or explode. Any one of those reactions would have been clipped, captioned, and fed to the machine for a month. But Claressa Shields did not stammer, deflect, or explode. She fired back instantly, and what she said rewired the entire conversation in a single breath. Wait. Pause. Because that is not somebody's husband. Papoose filed for divorce. Y'all hate to say that word, but that is the word that is out there. He filed for divorce because he is serious about me. Let's dissect what she did there, because it was surgical. First, she rejected the label entirely, not somebody's husband, not in her universe, not in the paperwork. Second, she put the actual fact on the table, the fact that the gossip pages consistently step around, which is that Papoose is the one who filed. The divorce is not a rumor, not a theory, not a detective board construction from store footage. It is a legal action, initiated by him, sitting in the public record. And third, and this is the part that turned a defense into an attack, she assigned the motive. He filed because he is serious about her. In one sentence she took the label they built to shame her and flipped it into evidence of how committed her man actually is. That is not a woman hiding from the narrative. That is a woman grabbing the narrative by the collar and dragging it where she wants it to go. And she was not finished. Claressa went on to make the point that ties this whole saga back to reality. People go through breakups and divorces every single day, she said. Ordinary people, in ordinary towns, ending marriages and starting new chapters without a single headline. The only difference here is fame. When it is celebrities, the whole world wants a seat, wants a vote, wants to treat a legal process between two adults like a referendum that requires the internet's permission. Calm, confident, completely in control of her own story. That is not somebody explaining herself. That is somebody who is done explaining herself. Now, to be fair and complete, because the full picture matters here, there is a real-world complication that the internet loves to weaponize. A filed divorce is not a finished divorce. Until papers are signed and a judge stamps it, Papoose is, on a technical level, still legally married to Remy Ma. And there are people close to this situation who have said publicly that Remy is in no rush to sign anything, that if she wanted to be difficult, she could drag this out, make every holiday complicated, and make the road to any future wedding very long and very bumpy. Some have even suggested that dragging it out might be the point. That is the one card the other side of this story still holds, and it is a real card. But here is what is fascinating. Even that card does not seem to shake Claressa Shields. Because listen to how she talks. She is not promising a wedding next month. She already told you there is no proposal yet. She is not pretending the paperwork is finished. What she is doing is something much smarter. She is pointing at the direction of travel. The filing exists. The relationship is, by her account, unshakable. The baby is planned. She is not selling you a fairy tale with a fake ending. She is showing you a foundation and letting the paperwork catch up whenever it catches up. There is a massive difference between a woman insisting everything is perfect and a woman insisting everything is solid, and Claressa has been very careful to only ever claim the second one. And that distinction is exactly why the reunion rumor never stood a chance against her. Rumors feed on panic. They feed on contradiction. They feed on the moment a person says two things that cannot both be true. But go back through everything Claressa has said across this entire saga, the Christmas correction, the ring clarification, the unshakable bond, the baby plans, the divorce receipts, and try to find a contradiction. You will not find one. Every statement points the same direction. She corrected the wife label because the divorce filing makes it inaccurate. She killed the engagement rumor because it was premature. She announced the baby because it is planned. She dismissed the circus because Papoose himself dismisses the circus. Whether you love her or cannot stand her, the woman has been relentlessly consistent while the internet has been relentlessly wrong. So now let's do what the gossip pages refuse to do, and actually answer the question that started all of this. Did Papoose spend Christmas with his ex-wife and daughter? And if he did, what does it actually mean? Here is the grounded truth that survives every rumor. Remy Ma is the mother of Papoose's daughter. That is a fact, and it is a permanent fact. A man spending a holiday with his child is not a scandal, it is fatherhood. And a man spending a holiday under the same roof as the mother of his child, in the middle of a divorce, during the most family-loaded week of the entire year, is not a reconciliation. It is co-parenting. It is the exact thing that relationship experts beg divorced couples to do for the sake of their kids. The internet looked at a father showing up for his daughter at Christmas and reported it as a husband running back to his wife. That is not journalism. That is projection wearing a press hat. And notice who understood this perfectly from the very beginning. Claressa Shields. Go back to her answer one more time. When they asked how she felt about Pap spending Christmas with his wife and daughter, she did not dispute the Christmas part. She did not say he was not there. She did not panic about who he spent the day with. She corrected one word. Ex-wife. Think about how confident you have to be to hear that question, accept the premise that your man spent Christmas with his ex and their child, and respond by fixing their vocabulary instead of defending your relationship. That is a woman who already knew where he was, already knew why he was there, and already knew it changed nothing. She was not surprised by the question because there was nothing in it to be surprised about. He is a father. Fathers show up for their kids on Christmas. End of story. And this is where the whole reunion narrative collapses under its own weight. Because every pillar holding it up just fell. The mink-store. A matching outfit on a store owner and a coincidence of timing during the busiest shopping season of the year. The Christmas reunion. A father co-parenting his daughter, which Claressa herself shrugged at. The $30,000 loneliness spree. An anonymous whisper about a self-made millionaire buying gifts, twisted into a pity story. The dumped and discarded narrative. Obliterated by a planned baby announcement delivered on a podcast while the rumors were still warm. And the he never really left her theory. Answered by a divorce filing that Papoose himself initiated, and by his own words dismissing the entire social media circus as corny. Stack all of that up, and what are you actually left with? You are left with a man who filed for divorce, moved on with a new partner, still shows up for his daughter like a father should, and refuses to perform his private life for strangers. And you are left with a woman who heard every rumor, answered exactly the ones worth answering, corrected the record with ice in her veins, and kept planning her future out loud in front of the whole world. That is not a love story falling apart. That is a love story surviving a machine that makes money pretending it is falling apart. And honestly, that might be the real headline underneath all of this. The rumor was never really about evidence, because there was barely any. The rumor was about appetite. A huge slice of the audience wanted the ending where the new woman gets humbled, the old marriage wins, and the whole thing becomes a cautionary tale they can point at. The internet did not report the reunion. The internet ordered it, like a meal, and then got furious when the kitchen said that dish does not exist. Claressa Shields was never fighting Papoose's past. She was fighting everybody else's preferred ending. And so far, she is winning that fight the same way she wins all her others, by staying calm, hitting back precisely, and refusing to go down. But before you go, there is one more layer to this that nobody is talking about, and it might be the most revealing detail of all. Think about who actually benefits from the reunion rumor. Not Papoose, he gains nothing from being painted as a man ping-ponging between two women. Not Claressa Shields, the rumor exists specifically to humiliate her. And honestly, not even Remy Ma, who has her own life, her own career, and her own narrative to protect. The only entities that profit from this story are the pages and channels that need the triangle to stay alive, because the day everyone accepts that Papoose and Remy are simply co-parenting exes and Papoose and Claressa are simply a couple planning a family, the content well runs dry. The machine does not need the rumor to be true. It needs the rumor to be renewable. A divorce that drags on is renewable. A Christmas co-parenting visit is renewable. A matching outfit in a mink store is renewable. Peace is not renewable. Peace does not trend. So peace is the one outcome the machine will never voluntarily report. And that is why Claressa's strategy is so much smarter than people give her credit for. Every time the machine throws a new rumor at her, she answers with something the machine cannot use. A one-word correction. A calm clarification. A baby announcement. Facts, delivered without emotion, that starve the story instead of feeding it. She has figured out what most celebrities never learn: you cannot beat the gossip machine by screaming at it, because screaming is content. You beat it by being boring in your defense and undeniable in your actions. Papoose figured that out years ago, which is exactly why his entire response to a public explosion was one word. Corny. Two people at the center of the loudest love triangle on the internet, and their shared strategy is to be the quietest people in the room. Meanwhile, the room keeps screaming. So here we are, all the way at the bottom of it. The whole internet swore up and down that Papoose dumped Claressa Shields and ran back to Remy Ma. And when somebody finally asked Claressa how she felt about Pap spending Christmas with his wife, she did not give them tears, she did not give them drama, she gave them a vocabulary lesson. Not his wife. Ex-wife. And from there, every single piece of the reunion story fell apart on contact with the facts. The mink store was a matching shirt. The Christmas visit was a father and his daughter. The diamond ring was an old piece from her own past. The loneliness spree was a whisper with no receipt. And standing underneath all the rubble, completely untouched, is the one thing the internet never wanted to print: a couple that filed the paperwork, called their bond unshakable, and planned a baby for next year while the whole world was busy writing their breakup. But now I need to hear from you, because this is the part where the comments section becomes the jury, and I already know this one is going to split the room straight down the middle. So tell me exactly where you stand. Number 1, do you believe the Christmas visit was innocent co-parenting, or do you think there was more happening behind that door? Number 2, that ice-cold ex-wife correction, was that the most confident clapback you have ever heard, or was it a woman pretending to be unbothered while the walls closed in? And number 3, the big one, if the divorce paperwork keeps dragging and never actually gets signed, does the baby plan and the unshakable bond even matter? Some of you are going to say Claressa is a woman who won, full stop. Others are going to say a filed divorce is not a finished divorce and she is building on ground she does not own yet. Both sides have receipts. Both sides have passion. So get down in those comments and pick your side, because I read every single one and this debate is far from over. And if you made it all the way to the end of this one, you already know the rule: this story is not finished. The divorce filing is still moving through the courts, the baby plan has a timeline attached to it, and the moment Remy Ma decides whether to sign or stall, this entire saga catches fire all over again. So make sure you are subscribed with that notification bell on, because when the next chapter of this drops, and trust me, it will drop, you are going to want to hear it here first. And if you thought this triangle was messy, wait until you see what I have coming next, because the situation I am breaking down in the next upload makes this one look like a bedtime story. Until then, keep your eyes open, keep your receipts ready, and remember, the loudest rumor in the room is usually the one with the least truth in it.